Hey everyone, it's Mike with It's Pittsfield Tonight. I am here at City Hall with Mayor Marchetti. Mayor Marchetti, thank you for taking the time and having me here today.
Thank you for rearranging my furniture.
Absolutely. It's my specialty. So today, as you know, what I want to talk about is business development, supporting business in the community, some of the challenges and all those things going on. So we know this year, watching the meetings, the budget issues that we're seeing, and it's not something exclusive to Pittsfield. We're seeing this throughout the state. We'll start with that then. So what are some of the biggest challenges you're seeing budget-wise that might affect some of these programs we're going to talk about?
But on the state budget side, there is a budget line called UGA, Unrestricted Governmental Aid. And the city of Pittsfield received about a $220,000 increase
Okay.
from last year. Now let's talk about the city. Let's talk about employee contracts. Let's talk about the cost of asphalt. Let's talk about the cost of gasoline and energy. $220,000 doesn't cut it to make those up. So I think we've seen it for a couple of years where, you know, the rising expenses as compared to the not rising revenues is a piece where we're at. And so this year's budget, on the city side, we're almost done. We have not impacted any people. We've impacted vacant positions that we're going to choose not to fill going forward for fiscal year 27 at the current moment.
So I do know that we're, just from following that budget, it looks like we're looking at, if not cuts in most of the departments, we're looking at least at not increasing. Is that correct, or?
So there are many departments who have decreased from last year. We're still kind of moving some pieces around, but for the most part, we're not seeing dramatic increases in departments. You'll see a few, and I think that is easily connected to union contracts that have just been negotiated. But I have 2 more weeks to kind of flesh it all out and be prepared to go to the city council with a plan.
Now, as far as business growth, because the state as a whole, and it's something I've been researching, has lost last year 35,000 residents. In the past few years, over 5,000 businesses. And some of the biggest challenges that you see or hear talked about are regulations, taxes, housing, insurance. Massachusetts has become one of the most expensive states to do business. How do we create incentives? I mean, these seem like serious challenges to try to attract business.
So let's just talk about some of the successes that we have had, right? We have brought Jane America's Inc. They're a company in Chicopee. They were looking to expand and have a second manufacturing plant. Their business is growing, so they were looking all over the place. Our business development manager, Michael Cookley, picks them up, and we begin to have conversations. And so first is what can we do as a city, right? And so part of it was trying to find them a location. We found them the old Conti Archive building that had been vacant for a period of time. So there's a building. Now we have a location. Now how do we work as a city to help them? On the city side, we have very limited ability to help, right? We have our GE Economic Development Fund that we can incentivize companies to come here. It's really based on capital investment and job creation. So we kind of work with those things. And then we can also potentially, depending upon what they're doing, look at a TIF, a tax increment financing plan. I know many folks don't like that, but you get paid taxes on the value of the building today. If they do an investment and really increase the value of the building, over time, you see the gradual increase of the taxes. And the TIF is really to help them in the construction periods, because as they're building and developing, they're not necessarily generating revenue. for their business, and so it kind of plateaus out. If you didn't offer that to them and they didn't do the expansion, you wouldn't be reaping millions of additional dollars in revenue depending upon the company, or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the city really has the TIF, and it has the GE money. We also work with PERC, the Pittsfield Economic Revitalization Corporation, where they can help with technical assistance grants, some capital planning. How can we make your business better if it's an existing business? And that's kind of where the red carpet team comes into play.
Now, does the red carpet team actively market the city to businesses to try to attract people to the area?
Well, so when we talk red carpet team, within Pittsfield, the team consists of myself, Michael Coakley, who's our business development manager, Justine Dodds, who's the community development director, and Brandon Gill, who is the administrative assistant for PERC. That's the city piece. And really what the red carpet team does is bring all the state agencies to Pittsfield to meet with the business. So we set up a meeting, everybody gathers, and we kind of go to the business, welcome, give us your presentation.
So this would be a business approaching the city,
Correct.
Not the other way around?
Either way, right? We go to them or they come to us. We set up this meeting because it's easier to put all of us in the room at the same time to be saying, this is how we can help you. And so if we give a business a TIF, one state agency may be able to help because we've opened that door. If we're doing GE Economic Development Incentive money, another business may be able to assist because of where we're at. So we go to the business first, whether they come to us or we reach out and say, hey, we got a great place for you here in Pittsfield. They give us a presentation. What's their business? What's the plan? What do you need? What are the resources? What are you going to bring to the table? And then we go around the room. Usually we end with the city that, we can potentially offer you a TIF and we can potentially offer you some GE Economic Development money. But the Mass Office of Business Development is here. Mass Development is here. Mass Hire is here. Sometimes the Small Business Administration is here. We have PERC at the table for ourselves. We have Mass Hire here. We have BCC here. And each of us can play a different role. So like the Small Business Administration, Mass Office of Business Development, or Mass Development, they're like tax credits, they're tax financing, loans, pieces. And then the city piece, the BCC piece, is new because of their workforce development department where they're doing training along with Mass Hire. And so Mass Hire could potentially help with new employees onboarding and training, and through a state program get monies to assist the company to pay for the training. So
now, well, not to, but before we go any further with that, so one of the things I talk about a lot, and I don't know if you've ever seen any of my videos, but I mention the median age of our community is getting older and older. And I always hear people say, we need manufacturing. We need manufacturing. That'll, I personally, with a lot of the challenges that I mentioned in the beginning, and then you add that median age, and manufacturing traditionally or generally is a young person's, you're not looking for people 10 years away from retirement to do manufacturing jobs. What do you think from that perspective when you add all these different variables to it, the median age, the tax rate, what do you personally see as your biggest challenges to try to get growth in the community? And do you think manufacturing or that type of work coming to the area is a realistic thing?
So I think it takes all types, right? So when we talk Jane America's Inc., they are a manufacturing company. They manufacture PVC piping and PVC shingles. So it is a manufacturing company.
Did they bring their employees with them, or were they looking to hire?
They're going to hire from here.
Okay.
And again, they have their own training program to be able to do. When we talk the tech hub at the BIC that will be coming to Pittsfield and bring in Marius Optic Inc., they're an advanced optics manufacturer. but highly specialized, state-of-the-art type stuff. So we're not talking manufacturing like industrial manufacturing, right?
Okay.
I don't know, they're creating these little microchips or lenses to be used. So manufacturing, I guess, but really high tech, all of them.
I mean, if I was to come to you and say, "Hi, Mayor Marchetti, I am looking to relocate my company. I do XYZ, whatever, and I'm looking to hire 88 people." How could you pitch? What would you say to me if I said, what is the reasons that I should choose Pittsfield? Obviously, like I said, Massachusetts is one of the hardest states to do business. So I imagine when companies are looking to come into the state, you have to compete with surrounding communities. What bargaining power, what do you have to say, hey, this is what we can do for you, and this is why you should be in Pittsfield?
Well, and that's the harder part, right? Like I said, we have our G economic incentive dollars, but they're not going to last forever. We have the ability to offer TIFs. We work with the state agencies to be able to maximize our commitment, and usually our commitment opens the door for millions of other dollars. Again, we're working with the state agencies, and maybe we're working against ourselves because they're also looking at another mass community. I think Pittsfield and the Berkshires have space where, if we're talking about Boston, where do you just build another building, right? It's not there. Here, we've got some space. I think we've done a great job of changing the William Stanley Business Park from a creator zone to something that looks like a great future home for a business of any kind of type, manufacturing or office.
I mean, because I see us really those days, and I know a lot of people like to, my age and up, go back to the GE days.
Right.
And I see the arts as being the future for this community. I see it being geared more towards retirement and the arts and the recreation outside, that type of thing, because that's what makes us unique. Those are our natural resources.
Yeah, but I also think that as we evolve, right? I hear daily, there's no nightlife,
Which is true.
But let's explore that, right? 2019. If you wanted to go to Patrick's Pub and have some wings and a beer, you could be there till midnight. COVID hit. We all did the retraction from COVID. It's been hard for businesses to get the workforce back or to get the people to come, right? You'd go out 2 nights a week, eat dinner out, and have a few drinks or coffee or whatever you do. That got taken away from you, and you're like, woo, if I don't go out 2 nights a week, that's another $150 in my bank account to be able to do different things.
That's the other thing with COVID. I see not just how people change the habits, but the cost. I went out to breakfast with a friend the other day. Eggs and stuff, breakfast, traditional breakfast. With tips, $62.
Yeah.
And it's expensive.
And so, like, all of that plays a piece,
Well, like when I say the arts, a few years ago, and literally just a few years ago, I started going to Tanglewood for the first time in my life. And because of the type of music they were bringing in there. And it was cool because I'd get there and I'd be like, hey, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so. I would see more and more. And it's not incredibly expensive. You can get lawn tickets, depending on who's there, for reasonable prices.
Correct.
And that got the gears turning because I started really seeing what I think a vision for this area when I say the arts. If Pittsfield had a version of something like that, that would be fantastic.
So, and I think that we do, but how do you connect the dots, right? If you take the Liechtenstein Center, there's an art show in there every single month during the year. If that's your specialty, you can check it out. But how many people go? How many people know? You've got both Barrington Stage and the Colonial Theater.
If I was trying to market the city from my vision of it, I'd be focused on these beautiful assets we have. And I just don't know. The world has changed, and I don't know if a GE day is coming.
Never.
And look at the damage that ended up doing in the long run.
It's really going to be smaller companies. Like if you score 250 jobs in a company, then that would be awesome. I think we're looking at companies that can do 30 to 50 to 100. And, you know, I agree with you, and I don't want to sell the beautiful area short, but hey, come to Pittsfield because we have 2 Great Lakes and a pond and a ski resort, but it costs you 25% more to run a business here. The beauty's not going to make up.
We have that airport, which to me, people need to go up and check out the airport and see the growth up there. I mean, hangar after hangar. And the day I was up there and filmed a 737 that came in and landed, I was like, oh my God, that's a 200 and something passenger jet.
And you'll have some folks that say, we don't need an airport in Pittsfield. But yet, if you look at the revenues versus expenses, the airport's getting close to being able to pay for itself, right? And so any department that's self-sustaining and, you know, who comes into the Pittsfield Municipal Airport? Is it folks from Guardian and General Dynamics and some of our other companies, or is it folks coming in to go to Canyon Ranch? But again, if those people are coming in, it's how do we get the regional economy going so that I'm here, all right, I landed in your airport, so there's a chances that we're getting fees, airport landing fees and whatever other kind of fees that are there. But maybe they stop at our restaurant, or maybe they stop and get gas at one of our pumps, and that's the bigger piece to be looking at.
With North Street, I know some people would like to see in this order: Trader Joe's, Olive Garden, Dave & Buster's. How do you get, I mean, what is your vision? What would you like to see on North Street? Well, do you think it'll always be independent boutique type stuffs, or is it possible to get an anchor type store?
So, I mean, I think when we talk Trader Joe's, Olive Garden, I mean, folks have been asking for Olive Garden for a really long time. These companies...
I'd take Mazzio's over Olive Garden, though.
Well, you know, could we just move Mazzio's Deli a few feet into Pittsfield? That would be a great thing, you know, another great addition. And I think that's the other piece, right? Great place. And instead of like complaining about whether it's 10 feet over the line into Lenox or not, it's a great place. It's a regional destination, yes. Right? So that's like I think the bigger piece for me. But so I think these companies are doing the data, and we don't have the numbers to support like a successful chain of those kind of magnitudes to come in.
Do we have a Pittsfield Chamber of Commerce?
So we have Downtown Pittsfield Inc. That kind of does North Street, and then we just have one Berkshire who does the regional approach for Berkshire County. So we don't have a Pittsfield Chamber. Because
I'll tell you, when I was in North Carolina and I opened a business there, these 2 ladies came in one day with this huge gift basket. And, you know, being from here, I was like, what do you want? But it had all these different items in it from surrounding businesses. And they said, we're with the Chamber of Commerce. We want to welcome you to the community. If there's anything you need. I mean, I was just floored and blown. And everything from assistance for me, but also like how to contact a security system company, who does this, signs for the door, all sorts of things. How do we...
So I would say for downtown, Rebecca Breen takes care of that. I think the rest of the city, Perk does. One of the things that has been developed...
Do they contact someone when they open a business?
Sometimes. You know, and so one of the pieces that we have done is there is a manual that's been created out of the Community Development Office that talks about the 10-step process of opening a business in Pittsfield. And one of the things that we are really pushing is if you want to open a new business, why don't you set up a pre-development meeting with the city? Everyone's at the table, and checkbox. If you're going to change the use of the building, you need to do X, Y, and Z per the building inspector. if you are going to do this and you're going to let 2,000 people in your space and you don't have a sprinkler system, you need to do this per fire regulations. And then everyone's in the room at the same time. So every city department is hearing the needs, the wants, and we're doing it together to then begin that. And I think we've been successful when we've started from that platform. You know, if someone is here just on their own looking and we don't know, we can't help. And, you know, I think...
I'm assuming when that happened to me in North Carolina, when I filed for my business stuff or signed the lease, somewhere the public record is where they got that information from, and I'm assuming they do that for everyone.
Well, and, you know, like our city clerk may be the first place when someone comes in to get a business certificate. She's the one that could be like, hey, do you know that you can go here?
But I got a lot of people message me about this, and I mentioned it, that Hot Plate Brewing Company, and again, I'll say that I said this in the last video I did, I've heard nothing but good things about the owners. But I do get a lot of people say, how did they get all these, why is the city always pushing and promoting them? Why don't they contact me and I'd host something at my business, I could use the business. Why are those happening there? And do you think it being what it is, an establishment that sells alcohol, is that the right location for some of these things?
So I'm not sure that the public perception is that right, that they get everything, because
I'm sure you've heard that, right?
I've heard it. I think someone would need to start telling me all these meetings that have been there. In this particular case, it was out. I've questioned the commissioner. I'm not sure that I agree with a public meeting where alcohol is being sold, but I also understand that we were looking for like a third space. It's not a meeting. It's a workshop. It's an open house. Come and scope things out.
But could you see where it could cause a little bit of jealousy?
I do. But, you know, I'll go down a slippery slope.
Would you entertain if another business contacted you and said,
sure,
can you do something at my place?
Happy to. He said, hey, how about a business-to-business expo? And, like, where is the conversation by saying, I sell bread. How come all the restaurants aren't buying the bread from me rather than Cisco, an out-of-city company? Hey, we buy this. Why aren't we buying that from Worley's rather than buying it from Cisco? And look, I don't know that that's the city's job to dictate who buys what from where, but I do think it's the city's responsibility to kind of, hey, folks, how can we support each other? And
when that money stays in the local economy, obviously it creates much more money.
Right. But it was kind of, to me, an out-of-the-box thought. Approached, we're running with it.
Awesome.
Not as fast as he wants it to be. So I'm hoping he listens to know. I know he contacts the office frequently to know, but we have an internal meeting set up to say, how do we do this?
So this will all go down next Tuesday, right?
Next Tuesday. Yeah, it'll all be next Tuesday. But it's where we're at, right? And I think sometimes if people have concerns, it's much easier to send an email that say, hey, can I have 5 minutes of your time? Rather than putting it out on social media. Because sure, we see it. But
you do, you know, because you and I we've done interviews now for years. We've both started getting gray hair, you know, where
Mine's faster than yours.
Mine's starting to come in though. So are you finally now, because I know you've never liked social media, you've just, are you seeing though where things have shifted with the social media world and how important it is? I noticed at last night's council meeting, Rebecca Breen did a presentation, and part of that presentation was how many views, how many clicks, how many hits on Facebook. Because Facebook, there was even a small window there where it was, it's the old people's platform. And then Facebook put out Reels, and now all the young people came back, and the growth, it's over 3 billion active users a month.
So part of me would tell you yes, and part of me would tell you no. I think social media is a double-edged sword, right?
It's probably going to wreck the world, but
It's great to be able to put information out there, but as we all joke, it was on social media, it was on Facebook, so it must be true. I think that piece is the reason I'll still tell you, no, I don't see the value in social media.
But even the local media, an incident that involved you, did an article on something that happened on a certain person's social media page.
I know. I know. But again,
it's where most people consume their information.
Well, and that's troubling because.
But everything's on there. Your city council meetings, your school committee meetings.
Correct. But now you're talking about a platform, right? So if I'm doing Facebook Live, what's the difference between that and turning into channel 1303?
That right? It's free on Facebook Live and Spectrum costs $9,000 a month or whatever it costs.
Well, okay, so let's go one step further. Let's go to pittsfieldtv.org and watch the streaming for free, right? It's another avenue to help with the outreach. And that piece of Facebook, Instagram is very valuable. The doom and gloom piece, right? And
I think it's people. Now we get to know what everyone's thinking all the time. That's the bad part of it.
But are we?
Well, to an extent. The growth has been tremendous, and I just see it as a tool that city governments, national government, state government, businesses, everybody, it's how you use it. And to give people to be able to pick and choose, I think a lot of community information hits social media first, and stories are created from that now. When you see newspaper articles on what somebody posted on their Facebook page,
But is that a story because of social media, or is that an opportunity to put another side or the facts on the table?
But it shows the reach that social media had to cause it.
True. I'll give you that.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that it's a good thing just because it has that reach.
But It's Pittsfield Tonight is the place to be on social media. Well, Mayor Marchetti, we could go on forever, and I really enjoyed this, and I really appreciate your time today. I will be hitting you up again, talking about the schools. I'm anxious to see how that meeting goes tonight. And
might be tomorrow morning by the time we finish.
Yeah, it probably will. I'm probably going to put this out in 2 parts because I don't know how long we went on. This is parts 1, 2, and 3. It's like the Godfather series. But thank you so much again. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you soon.